Welcome to Deepening the Conversation, a section of Conversations with Azu, weekly diary on life and politics, published every Friday on the back page of Leadership newspaper and in the Vanguard newspaper. Azu, the columnist and award-winning writer, is here in the studio to answer questions on the topic he has written about, which is Gumi's extremism, shames, decency. You're welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me once again, Julius.
And there are extremists on all sides of the Nigerian divide, religiously, politically, what have you. What is it about Gumi this time around?
Well, during his sermon, as I explained in the article which you referred to at the beginning of this conversation, during the sermon that Sheikh Ahmad Gumi gave last week, he described the minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, as a Satan. But it was not just that description of Wike as Satan, to use his words, that I thought highly objectionable, rather extreme. But it's also the message behind that label that I thought needed to be called out and addressed properly.
Okay, I read a column in Vanguard newspaper of 2014 where the columnist, I won't mention his name, referred to Sheikh Ahmad Gumi, and the title is Like Father, Like Son. And you, in your column, you referred to the incendiary rhetoric of the senior Gumi. What are you driving at?
Well, what you've just tried to describe is like a chip off the old block. But I think, in a sense, that is correct in a sense. But I think we should also stay on the message. And whatever his father was, I mean, he has to take responsibility for what he does and what he says. And his father cannot take responsibility for him. And you talked about extremism and the fact that society normally would have extremists, and I mean, it's not new, it's not a Nigerian thing, so to speak. There are extremists on the left, extremists on the right as well. But Gumi's case, as I said, Gumi has to take responsibility for what he said. His father cannot take responsibility for him and for the things that he said. And as I said in my opening remarks, it was not just about what he called Wike, but it was about the rather wild storm of hatred behind that message. That's what I thought needed to, that rhetoric, that very dangerous rhetoric, is what I thought needed to be addressed.
I see altruism in your perspective, because one would expect that somebody like Wike has enough people to defend him. So why are you taking on?
Well, I do not think Wike needs anybody to defend. I think most of us around here know him. And I think he's able to defend himself. But I think it's important to be clear that it's not about Wike as a person. After all, both Wike and Ahmad Gumi are, in a manner of speaking, members of the same political party. And I'm also aware that in the past, Wike has described the APC, the ruling party in Nigeria, as the satanic party, or the party of Satan. So it's not that vulgar abuse, because that is what the word Satan has come to represent in Nigeria. It's come to represent. It should represent a far more sinister expression, but unfortunately, it has come to represent just vulgar abuse. But that's not what it is. I think what is highly objectionable in the sermon that Ahmad Gumi gave, Sheikh Ahmad Gumi, was the fact that he presented himself as the landlord of Abuja, from whom the president needed clearance before he could appoint a minister, especially if he was going to appoint a minister that was not from his faith. That's highly objectionable, not to be called out.
Prior to the 2015 general elections, Sheikh Ahmad Gumi had written a letter to President Goodluck Jonathan, then President Goodluck Jonathan, advising him not to step down, and had written a letter also to then candidate Muhammadu Buhari, advising him not to contest the election. Did you see in this trail a semblance of someone who thrives in anarchy?
Does he thrive in anarchy? That would be a very weighty expression for him. But I think it's fair to say that he's used to saying so many things and getting away, you know, with such things that he appears not to know when to stop and where to draw the line. And I think his last sermon was just a clear demonstration of where a leader, whether a political or a religious leader, a leader in any field, especially in Nigeria with all the problems and that we are going through, and the inflammatory symbol that religion has come to unfortunately represent in this country. He ought to really have restrained himself instead of going all out to suggest, as he did clearly in that sermon, that because the minister was not of his own faith, then he wasn't worthy of the office.
Finally, I would like to ask you, you suggested that Sheikh Mahmoud Gumi should find himself a job. Do you have a job for him?
No, he's far more experienced, more resourced, and remember also that he's gained a lot of reputation as
As a medical doctor,
a medical
trained
doctor, and all of that. He can find
former
himself.
military officer.
Yes, he can find himself work to do. But I think it was just my way of saying that he needs to use his time, his resources, his talent, and his giftings put them to far better uses than we did.
All right. What we just brought you here are snippets of conversations with Azu. And if you want to get the real gist, you can go to the blog azuishiekwene.com, where you will find videos, you find articles, you find other contributions, other intellectual works produced by Azu Ishiekwene, and you won't be disappointed, because there you find the real essence of why we call this deepening the conversation. Please share, like, and help us in deepening the conversation, because this is our own contribution to our country and our national progress. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you, Azu, for coming.
Thanks once again for having me, Julius. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.